9:11 a.m. September 23, 2022. Fifth thought on appearance. Obvious body language.
You can say what I say, or say what you want to say, but body language should be our fifth thought on appearance, so we cover it in this lecture. We have a tendency to gravitate towards those whose initial appearance, humbled modesty, verbal communication, and facial expressions are amicable. Body language is likewise used to persuade further those attracted by the previous 4 lectures, but for what, if not to select the most capable and efficient individual or group that can help make dreams realities? What more do we dream but to bring about a better tomorrow where others who hadn't seen what we saw, when black girl magic was but an overlooked and seldom considered idea. Facing opportunities we feel advantageous and simply turning our backs to those we think will be more trouble than they're worth. In the 2022 #SkullOffBlackGirlMagic we strive to inspiring achievement. We can't approach others as if they're following our lead will somehow bring about a detriment to them for whatever reason, because our thinking we could be a detriment would be us doubting ourselves. Doubting our ability to hold up our position of inspiring achievement is saying that black girl magic doesn't exist, and we could discontinue any further investigation as our hypothesis failed in experimentation. Without speaking we move aligning ourselves with others however subtle as leaning to the right or dramatic as when turning disgusted to leave. Outside of the law, family, and co-workers we are all necessarily preoccupied and happily content with friends and acquaintances, but being so attracts assets and liabilities where we may have to become martially artful in our body language.
The law, our families, and co-workers are perhaps the only people who we wouldn't be necessarily preoccupied for, so the fifth thought on appearance, body language is to encourage being reserved. Since none of us are above the law it is not to us to judge our actions. We only follow patterns we have experienced that prove to lead to success and happiness more so than their opposites busying ourselves with that. Family has a biological power to link us encouraging closer proximity and body language that has cousins sit together in the cafeteria or families dress nicely to meet for Christmas dinner. Co-workers are seemingly on the same level but pulled by separate motivations. Family is motivated by a communal security found in knowing others we love share in our personal happiness and achievement. Co-workers are motivated by the knowledge that we have the education, experience, and consequent potential to handle any task of our job where encouraging productivity maximizes economic potential. Being necessarily preoccupied our body language gives a similar appearance as there is seldom other things where we shouldn't busy ourselves. Though someone outside of law, family, and co-workers may grab a moment of our time for an elevator pitch, we could never say that our preoccupations weren't elsewhere. With friends and acquaintances a happily neutral disposition is based on the trust of mutual benefit and considered secondly under body language in our fifth thought on appearance. We are attracted or perhaps even herded to those we have something in common where age is a prime example and class is a consequent category. Through proximity and sociology we find friends who may not always agree with us, but their honest opinion is always welcome, because we want for them what we want for ourselves. But there are other categories like language, gender, ethnicity, religion, hair, and skin color or even neighborhood where we find we have things in common with others. For those common factors we can seem to be associated, when we may not be, and caring for humanity we feel those associated to us by such attributes more than others would be of the same class but a different category. Body language being more so reserved for those who have similarities creates barriers between individuals and the public who where when our names are mentioned inspiring achievement is also mentioned concerning our #SkullOffBlackGirlMagic. Our friends make life worth living where we show more opened body language than we would to those unfamiliar. Being more attractive from our training, assets, and liabilities will appear where being martially artful may repel those unwanted as may be required. The third position of the fifth thought on appearance and body language is used at our discretion, because it is no more than a mental calculation to shield us from what we see as a negative consequence. We will surely be open to assets, but how could we be the same to others who just might not be beneficial but as well could be harmful? We must remember that we can't help or possibly know all those attracted to us from the progress we have made thus far where most may be assets, but, unfortunately, we can't eliminate the possibility of liabilities. We never know what situations may be ahead of us, but it is always better to prepare for the unexpected where while straddling the thin line between aggravated assault and self-defense, we fall on the latter side being the unlikely initial aggressor. Being the physically inferior of the less economically dominant subculture the motivation to use what is learned in the #SkullOffBlackGirlMagic to harm someone is not in our programming, but defense is a necessary reflex where, when trained, it will prove helpful.
Our efforts are necessarily preoccupied with other business or happily content with friends and acquaintances, but being so attracts those with positive and negative intentions where a body's language should reflect. We are attracted and repelled from initial appearances where we categorize the law, family and, perhaps, co-workers as those with which we are always necessarily preoccupied, and our body language is more open and inviting. If the time is found, friends and associates cushion us from the multitudes of other people on the earth as they want for us what we want for ourselves, so we would be more open to assets than liabilities. We are always seen, so with a certain force, what must be done to block an unwanted advance must prove to be adequately repelling and more so offensive to deter any further advance from a perceived liability.
Thank you for your time and consideration.